You can't understand what you're seeing in the news unless you understand the full nature of our reality. And to understand that, what you're seeing, you have to know how we got here as a people. Many subscribe to the story that is presented in public education. At first there was a big bang, and then after millions and billions of years, somehow we got here through the magic of evolution. And we've seen the diagrams, we've seen the textbooks, we've seen the explanation, we know the propaganda. And we call it propaganda because, unfortunately, what they are teaching you in public schools isn't science, it is science fiction. We know this for fact because as an undergraduate studying biology, chemistry, physics, we can pick out all of the things that they leave out of your public education. Unless you are a science major, there are so many things that they keep away from you. For example, the idea of a big bang, of getting something out of nothing, violates the law of physics known as the law of thermodynamics. You cannot get something from nothing. Energy is preserved. Matter is neither created nor destroyed. Things are transferred, dispersed, displaced, reconstituted by different processes. Of course, now the scientific community, after decades of brainwashing the masses, they're starting to say, well, perhaps it wasn't exactly like that. You don't say. And then there's this idea of evolution. Things basically assembled and evolved through time, from a primordial soup. So let's just think about this primordial soup here, what they're saying. What they're advocating is what's called chemical evolution. And they're saying that simple chemicals found in nature somehow assembled to constitute the first form of life. Now that is a fairy tale with a happy ending. If we look at the simplest form of life, the first form of life to have spontaneously generated on Earth, that is blue-green algae, cyanobacteria. We know it well. You may have seen it in a biology class. You may have seen it on a pond or in a lake. It's algae. That's the first form of life. So they tell us. And to a certain extent, it makes sense that that would be the first form of life, and then somehow it could evolve into the other forms of life that we see. Sure, that makes sense. But what is cyanobacteria? What is this first form of life? Well, it turns out blue-green algae is a complicated specimen indeed, with multiple mechanisms of survival. And to make a long story short, it contains information, a programming language that allows it to replicate like a program. This programming language dictates everything the cell does to survive. How to build the micro machines to do all of the things that it must do, namely to transform photons into an energy source that can run the micro machines within the cell. And we're seeing engineers today try to adapt that same sort of technology for the supercomputers of tomorrow. If you look at machines that are running now on adenosine triphosphate, ATP, they're trying to make machines run on the basic energy source of life, which makes you wonder, are they going to invent carnivorous machines anytime soon? We're not going to sidetrack. In any case, cyanobacteria contains a programming language. It contains information. It contains micro machines. It's nanotechnology on the most efficient scale imaginable for a place like this. A wonderful, beautiful place like this. What we're trying to get at here, ladies and gentlemen, is that life is so complicated that there is no known mechanism to spontaneously generate life from non-living material. That is the basis for the law of biogenesis. The law of biogenesis says you cannot get life from non-life. You can't get a chicken from a rock. The scientist that coined the term chemical evolution back in the 1970s has publicly stated that his own theory cannot possibly be true because it requires information for the first form of life to take shape and to be able to survive and reproduce. And we know that information comes from intelligence. You can't get a book without an author. You can't throw Scrabble letters onto the ground and get Shakespeare. Mount Rushmore doesn't carve itself. So the whole idea that we evolved from nothing is impossible. It's impossible. So the Big Bang is a lie. Evolution is a lie. And it's not until you're an undergraduate scientific major that you start getting hints of the truth, but they'll never connect the dots for you. We didn't land on this perfect planet, on this Goldilocks planet by chance. The moon doesn't seem to fit perfectly in between us and the sun by chance. Everything that we discover through observation and through the scientific method leads us to one solid conclusion, and it scares the living daylights out of the dark side, ladies and gentlemen, out of the humanists, out of the liberals, out of the militant atheists. They can't handle the truth, but they can practice lies in the open. And that's why they sell you this story, that you just evolved out of nothing, that things came to be by chance. They want to break down who you are. They want to steal the legacy, the heritage of what it means to be a human, created in the image of God Almighty. And that's the only place where you're going to get the truth. That's the only place that's going to offer you the explanation for how you got here, for what's the meaning of life, for what's going on. You cannot understand what's going on in the news unless you understand that you are in a world of good versus evil, of light versus darkness. People preferred the night because their deeds are evil. Are you a day walker or are you a night walker? Are you going the right way or are you going the wrong way, the left way? Are you taking that highway to hell or are you taking the stairway to heaven? You've been promised a promotion, guarantee. All you gotta do is abide by the rules. There's 10 commandments there, and they're there for a very good reason. That is your ultimate guide to understanding what you need to do to make it to the other side, to get that promotion that you've been promised, and to avoid the troubles that this constructed reality can offer you. Just about every disease, every trouble known to man is man-made. Following the dark path in whatever you do, in whatever you think, brings you to one destination: darkness, trouble. Now, doing the right thing is fairly easy once you understand the difference between right and wrong. And that's what the Bible is there to do. It's to provide guidance. It is your foundation. It is your gateway to higher understanding, to understanding what is going on. Now, there are 10 commandments. Those are the rules. If you cannot abide by the rules 100%, you're looking for trouble. And trouble will find you, because that's the way it works. And the reason I'm focusing on the 10 commandments here and now is because our society is brainwashing to be anti-Christian in your ideology, in your behavior, in your understanding. You're using words that minimize the complicated truth of the matter. And we'll get into that. Focusing on the 10 commandments. Read it line by line. Understand it. The full implication of it. Don't go up to the fence and go, I'm going to challenge it or see how far I can go without getting in trouble. Bad things happen to otherwise good people because they're not following the letter of the law. And it's especially the first 2 commandments that people are having trouble with these days. You shall not take the Lord's name in vain. But people do it all the time because it's become part of the vernacular. It's just an expression. Don't take it the wrong way, they say. These lemmings are jumping off the cliff. They can't wait to implant their cell phones right into their brains so they can merge with the Matrix. Do not listen to these people. Do not follow their ways. Do not use the language that they use or the expressions that they use if it contradicts the 10 commandments. If you invoke the name of God, it better be a prayer. It better be for the right cause. And I'm not even going to attempt to replicate the expressions that we hear every day. But the name is sacred, the invocation is an act, and doing so without good cause is a violation of the first commandment. Graven images of things that are in the heavens above and underneath the waters below are also prohibited. Every picture of the moon, of Mars, of Saturn, of the universe is a violation of that commandment. Bad things happen to good people all the time, and it's because they are not respecting the essence of the law. And we could do a course on the Catechism right here on all 10 commandments, and it wouldn't be a waste of time. But the first 2 commandments are the ones that people break the most. And the philosophy of the dark side is to be anti-Christian in its nature. And everything that you're seeing in society today is pushing you to that end. Because misery loves company, and their goal, their aim, is to steal your soul.